Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to its fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Let's get started. Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Before we start today's episode, I would like to remind you of an incredible deal I have going right now in case you were unaware of it. Right now, if you go to my website at www.expansionmastery.com, I'm offering signed copies of my book, Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life, for only $5 plus postage. 75% off the cover price. You get the book signed by me at a tremendous savings of 75%. And you will have in your hands an incredible guidebook on how to get started with some basic, easy practices and a lot of down-to-earth practical information that will help you create a solid foundation for your spiritual practices. I can't recommend this book enough. It will serve you greatly as it's serving so many others, and this is your chance to get it extremely cheap. I ordered a number of cases from my publisher. When they're gone, they're gone, but you're able to order as many copies as you like at this point in time. So please take advantage of it, buy them for your friends, your family, and share the incredible gift of grounded, real spirituality. All you have to do is go to www.expansionmastery.com, put in the discount code Heaven on Earth. That's Heaven on Earth, all one word. Put that code in, and you will be able to save $15 off of that book, and I will sign it and send it out personally to you. So make sure you jump over to www.expansionmastery.com and grab that copy today. All right, so we are going to continue with the second in this 5-part series, dealing with the incredible power of the 5 potentials and the 5 powers. These are amazing potentials and powers that human beings all have laying latent inside. And what we want to do is access them and develop these powers, these abilities, in order to live a fully engaged life. So make sure that if you're tuning in for the first time, this is the second in a 5-part series, and I urge you not only to go back and listen to part 1 first, but I encourage you to go several shows back and start at the beginning of these meditative practices. What I've done in the broader perspective here is to teach you various aspects of mindfulness, teaching you how to develop mindfulness and explaining what mindfulness actually is, not the Western fluffy made up definition. We have this tendency in the West to just assign any past knowledge we have to something we don't know yet, something we don't understand, and we assume that we know it. This is one of the ways the ego works, but it creates a false understanding for things. So I have diligently brought you several practices and made sure that you understood what mindfulness was. That's your foundation. That's what you need to get started, and it will serve you in all areas of your life, not just your spiritual path. And then I started to go into meditative practices. And we want to understand that the first set of formal meditative practices that I gave you beginning this year was the 4 skillful efforts. After that, I gave you the 4 skillful intentions. Now we are into the 5 potentials and 5 powers. So I highly urge you to start back at the beginning And if you have a sense of true foundational mindfulness already, then start with the 4 skillful efforts. These are simple, contemplative, meditative practices, but they are so powerful. What they can develop for you is absolutely immense. It is crucial if you intend to truly awaken and aspire to rise to everything that true spirituality has to offer. In part 2, this second episode in the 5-part series, I'll be addressing the potential and power of courageous effort. As you see, there's a lot centered around effort. We had the 4 skillful efforts, and then in the last episode of this set of 5 potentials and 5 powers, we had the confident effort, right? So here we have courageous effort. We want to understand that real progress in anything, especially the spiritual path, requires a degree of effort. Okay? This is not effortless. If what you're doing is completely effortless in the beginning with developing mindfulness, developing meditative practices, all of that stuff, then you're not going to do anything. If it's just sitting there and feeling good, that's not what spirituality actually is. It is only when we engage in pure meditation, and I've explained to you exactly what meditation is and how that's different from meditative practices. Only when we engage in meditation is it effortless, because in true meditation, you sit and you do nothing. Okay? And what's meant by that is that you completely shut down any of the mental processes. You suspend them for the period of time you are in meditation. You suspend anything to do with the 5 senses, anything to do with the mind at all. And that is when you have attained a state of true meditation. That's what meditation is about, is getting into that state where you are in no mind. So in the beginning, as we're building a strong foundation that will more easily and quickly allow us to succeed in meditation and to reap the benefits that it offers, it takes effort. We have to apply some effort. Anything in life requires a little effort. Maybe you have to learn something new. Maybe you have to develop some experience and skills in something. Everything requires effort. That's the nature of life in this physical, mental realm that we live in. So we have to be courageous enough to even begin these practices. We have to be courageous enough to exert the necessary amount of effort in order to proceed as well as succeed. Let's take a look at courage. Courage is critical to success in life. We must have the courage to face the challenges of each day in order to rejoice in its triumphs. I hear so often from people how they are walking in fear almost all of their lives. This is not how we were meant to live. We were not meant to live in fear. We have to understand that right now, especially in the West, a lot of this fear is being propagated and pushed onto us to keep us in this low vibration state. But if you have true courage, it doesn't affect you. We must have the courage to dare, to dream, to step outside of our comfort zone and explore the unknown. Courage means that we have the inner strength to face fear, pain, grief, or anything else that we would see as an obstacle or unpleasant. It's the ability to persevere regardless of what obstacles may arise before us. This is not the ego-dominated type of attitude of not caring or being fearless. Remember those stickers everybody would put, on their trucks and stuff, no fear, right? And that whole thing that started the era of extreme sports, right? You have extreme sports. And this was a lot of ego. And of course, it was based in competition because competition is based in ego. So you can see the cycle there for yourself, right? So we want to make sure that what we're doing is developing honest inner strength in order to persevere and not strengthen the ego to falsely believe that it is fearless. Through this practice of the potential and power of courageous effort, we are looking at a true and deep sense of courage that arises as a direct result of these contemplation meditative practices. Once you attain this degree of courage, this type of courage, you will possess the inner strength to face any adversity while remaining centered. You'll be able to move forward in life regardless of what is thrown at you. You'll have the courage to be authentic in a world based upon ever-increasing pressure to conform. This type of courage gives you the strength to be compassionate, forgiving, and unafraid to open your heart and allow yourself to be in the most vulnerable state a human being can be in. That is, to be in love. You will have the strength to love openly and completely, bearing your soul to that one and only person that you choose to share your life with. You'll develop the courage to express yourself with love, letting your friends and family know that you love and appreciate them. And believe me, I went for many, many years of my life without the courage to do that. I was afraid to do that. I didn't have the courage to do that. I would try. There was times I felt it and I wanted to try to do it. And I would even open my mouth, force myself to physically open my mouth, but the words would not come out. Through these practices, I was able to develop this level of courage to where I can share how I feel, how much I love and appreciate the people in my life. I can do that openly and without hesitation. And think about it for a minute. How much would it mean to you if you had somebody in your life that you knew you were really making an effort for, that you were a true blue friend to, that you were a supportive family member to? Wouldn't that mean a lot to you if they had the courage to be able to tell you how much they love and appreciate you? Of course it would. And they would feel the same when you are able to do that for them. Keep in mind that true spiritual practices aren't about feeling all warm and fuzzy inside all the time. It's about facing hard truths. It's about facing the ultimate truth and having the courage to accept what is instead of trying to force life to be what you demand it to be. There will be certain points along the path that are incredibly uncomfortable, demanding nothing less than 100% honesty of yourself to yourself in order to face this truth. This will require the spirit of a warrior's kind of courage. It's not a battle that you have to fight. That's not what I mean about being a warrior. It's the ability to proceed into the unknown with a sense of confidence and courage that you hold deep within yourself. This is what it means to be a spiritual warrior. And keep in mind, as we begin to develop this courage, that a warrior is not necessarily a soldier. The idea of a warrior is different than a soldier. I remember when I was a child, there was a Christian song, Onward Christian Soldiers. That implies going into battle. That implies war. It implies resistance and fighting and forcing your will. And this has nothing to do with being a warrior. Being a warrior is that you are confident and courageous, that you have an inner strength, and that you are able to look at things objectively, realistically, practically. You are able to accept truth. You're able to accept the truth. You're able to do what has to be done, even if it's incredibly difficult. You have the discipline to do it. You have the discipline to persevere. This is the idea of a warrior, and that takes great courage and inner strength. All right, so that being said, let's get into the first contemplative, meditative practice here. As you know, the first one is dealing with the potential of courageous effort, and then the second part will provide you with the practice for understanding the power of courageous effort. As with any of these contemplation meditative practices, you can do them seated and going through a program like the Breath Bridge program to go from your outer world to your inner world, you can just lie on your bed and relax for a moment, focus yourself, and contemplate there. Whatever works for you is absolutely fine. I explained in the previous episode what I prefer, so you're welcome to go that route or find your own path as long as you engage the practice effectively. Just make sure if you're lying down that you do not fall asleep. That's not helpful at all, is it? So we have to have the courage to begin. We have to have the courage to continue. So what we're going to do is look at a practice that will give us that. So what I'd like you to do, as usual, is to sit or lie and get comfortable. Take a few deep breaths, relax, and settle into your position. Make sure that you've gotten rid of any distractions. And once you've done that, I'd like you to just contemplate what I'm sharing with you here. Sit and contemplate the idea that it's easy to be overpowered before we even start to move forward and achieve success in our practices. What we want to do is to strive to be aware of the ever-expanding opportunities by increasing our efforts. In other words, the more effort that we put into something, the more opportunities that will arise from it. Imagine how much more success you could achieve if only you exerted just a little more effort towards the goal. Remember that we learned how to master the power of focused effort in the series of meditative practices on the 4 skillful focused efforts. So reflect upon what goal, what desire you could set that will help you to engage your power of self-motivated, focused efforts. Reflect upon and contemplate how much courage you will end up needing in order to walk the spiritual path that you desire, and how this is the inner courage of a spiritual warrior. In order to truly grasp the importance of courage and its vast potential, consider how many ways it's required on a true spiritual path. Reflect upon all the ways that courage is necessary for spiritual advancement. You need to have great courage in order to be 100% honest with yourself. You have to have courage in order to begin and then even stick with these practices. You need to possess great courage in order to be authentic. You need courage to open your heart, raise your vibration, and truly love. What you want to do now is to take some time and just contemplate all of these areas that require courage. And whether you actually have the courage right now or not, what I would like you to do is visualize yourself, or at least think about yourself having the courage to do that. What if you had all of the courage, all of the inner strength necessary to be absolutely honest with yourself? Imagine the power. Imagine the potential that has. Imagine the potential that would unlock for you. Imagine if you had the courage to not only begin these practices, but to stick with them. Just imagine if you had the courage to be truly, authentically yourself. Imagine, too, if you had the courage to step into the vast unknown and to engage whatever is there. What if you had the courage to open your heart, raise your vibration, truly, truly love, and to live a fully engaged life? See yourself, or at least think about it in your mind as if you do. Think about all of the potential that you have that is just waiting for you to have the courage to unlock it. Imagine if you had that courage, the potential and the inner power that you would have to move forward in life in so many ways. See yourself being that courageous. See yourself being that kind of person that has that courage and confidence. Embrace the potential that you realize you have. Take the time to sit and engage this practice for as long as you desire. Remember that when you finish, take a few deep breaths, get reconnected to the physical world that you leave when you do the breath bridge, and move around a little bit before you get up. Make sure and reconnect to your physical body. Allow your eyes to adjust to the light if you need to do that, and get up gradually and slowly so you don't get dizzy and fall and get hurt. There we go. The first part is just the realization, the understanding that whatever you desire in life is going to require a bit of courageous effort on your part. And start to see yourself as if you were that courageous. And the potential that has for you to create the life you want and live a fully engaged life. My wife knows better than anybody about this one because I have walked into the unknown and brought her with me on many occasions. And she often talks about how much courage it took to do that. And she is absolutely right. It took a tremendous amount of courage. And this is what it takes to truly make massive changes for the better in your life in order to go somewhere else. Like moving away. For us, that was huge. The way we did it was there was a lot of unknown variables. But it's worked out incredibly well. Couldn't be any better. So imagine that. Do you have the courage to do that? Most people just don't have the courage to move from where they were born. It's not a matter of staying true to your roots. It's they don't have the courage to do it. They don't have the courage to be independent and move forward and to be authentic and live where they want to live and do what they want to do. But you've got to understand that's part of living a fully engaged life. That's what we're trying to accomplish through these practices, is so we can face these things and be courageous enough to make the life choices that are going to be life-changing. Now let's begin the second part of the practice, the power of courageous effort. We're going to get comfortable just as we did before. You know the beginning process by now, so I won't repeat the whole thing. Just get comfortable, settle in. If you need to go from your outer world to your inner world, do so. Make sure you get rid of the distractions. What you're going to do is contemplate again. You're just going to reflect upon some of the things that I'm sharing with you here and take time to think about them. And the more that you just start to let your mind go and work on them, it's going to be very amazing what comes to you. We have to have the courage to live authentically and become that greatness which we feel deep inside us as the person we know we were meant to be. As we know, it's easy to slip back into unwholesome, unskillful, mindless habits of laziness. It's easy to be lazy. It's easy to slip back into old habits of behavior because it feels familiar. But we have to have the courage to move forward and to not give in to those feelings of familiarity. We must strive to recognize as many examples as we can of our own spiritual advancement that's happening because of our focused efforts. So in this practice, you're going to take the time to think about how courageous you've been. Think about different circumstances in your life that required you to be courageous and make the effort to do something great. And when you do, you're going to understand what it led to. We want to embrace the power we have in this way so that we may propel ourselves forward into even more outstanding results through our practices. What specific examples can you reflect upon of your own progress to serve as evidence that you know for yourself the power of your own courageousness? Reflect upon how powerful you have become through applying your own brand of courage to move forward on the spiritual path. Reflect upon how powerful you'll be when you can be 100% honest with yourself. When you have the courage to begin and then stick with these practices, imagine the power you will possess. When you're courageous in your own authenticity, imagine how well you'll be able to live a fully engaged life. Think about the power you'll have when you have the courage to open your heart and truly love, even though it leaves you vulnerable. This is what true power looks like. Embrace the power of authentic courage, of your authentic courage, and utilize it in order to help you to keep going, to continue advancing into the unknown of the spiritual path. This allows us to know true courage without the need for the ego to jump in. Courage based upon the self-righteousness of the ego is not true courage at all. So take the time to just reflect upon all the ways that you have already summoned courage to do amazing things in your life. Realize that this courage is already there. It's already present inside you. All you have to do is learn to tap into it and help it grow. You want to work with it. So the next time you're out there in your daily life and you're going about your business and you're presented with a challenge that's going to require a lot of courage, summon it. Summon it. Know that you have it. Summon it and go forward. Accept that challenge and go for it and see what happens afterwards. Notice how your life is changed. Greatness requires courage. It requires the ability to engage a certain amount of risk, to live in uncertainty. Those are good things. They're not to be feared, they're to be embraced. And the more courageous you become, the more you'll be able to embrace them. The more courage that you're able to summon, the more you will be strong enough, courageous enough to trust in the universe, to trust in the guidance of your true self, to realize that the universe is conspiring in your favor. It is working for you, trying to do everything it can to make sure you're having a grand adventure and living a fully engaged life, but it requires some effort on your behalf as well. The universe isn't going to do it all. You can't sit on your butt and expect the universe to just keep handing things to you. It doesn't work that way. You have to know how to make some effort. You have to be courageous enough and confident enough to make that effort, to accept the challenges, to rise above. And you can do it. It's already inside you. These practices aren't designed to give you something you don't have. They're designed to help you tap into what you already have, what you already are. It's really amazing because I find that most people are afraid to accept and face how powerful they are. They don't have the courage to face how powerful they are. And trust me, I know that sounds absurd, but that's totally the case. And that is because that is what happens when the mind has been dominated by the ego. We live in that fear. But when we have the courage to face and embrace the amount of power that we have already inside us, it just naturally comes to the surface and we can call on it for anything, anytime. This is the power we have as human beings. This is the power we want to embrace and develop. And these simple contemplation, meditative practices will help you do it. Make sure and take a few deep breaths when you're finished. Open your eyes slowly, readjust to the room, move around a little bit before you stand up, and then slowly stand up and go about your day. Having a sense of boldness and courageousness and confidence to engage your life fully. And while you're doing that, you can support me by visiting my social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, putting some likes, some nice comments if you would, and most importantly, sharing the things that I put on there. Please make sure you're doing that. If you're into relationships, you might want to stop by the Facebook page of Entangled Souls, Conscious Relationships. My wife and I have that one on there, and gives you a little bit to do with the book that's going to be coming out on that subject. So please hit the likes, the subscribes on the YouTube channel. You guys know the usual routine, but man, does that help. And the most important thing is to get our voice out there. These platforms like YouTube and Google and Facebook and Twitter, they're censoring things that are real. They're starting to censor and dampen the voices of anybody that's offering anything of common sense, sanity, practicality, and anything that is real that can offer you true growth. So we've got to get it out there. We've got to share it. And I need your help to do that. I share it as much as I can, but I need your help. So please lend a hand. Help the great consciousness shift move forward through sharing this material with people that you know and love. And make sure you stop by the website, grab that copy of Expansion Mastery, the Practical Guide to Living a Fully Engaged Life, while it's on sale for a measly $5. All the details are there at the website. Check it out. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.